back to the Sounds of Stadia podcast for episode number 120 of your weekly Stadia show, where we round up all of the cloud gaming news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the clouds on your digital platform of choice for listening and chilling out and enjoying all of the week's stories rounded up. I'm joined this week by the man of many pixels, as always, Mr. Richie.
You know what, Chris?
What,
I caved.
Oh, you did it. You bought it.
It actually came this morning as well.
Good. You can start trading stuff with me. For audio listeners, Richie has acquired Pokemon Shield after I've pestered him about it for many a moon.
It wore me down.
That's what happens.
I need to get. It's one of them. I'm a Pokemon fan. I need to give it a go. I've said some bad things about it because the Gigantamax stuff looks stupid, and I don't like the always on XP share. So that kind of soured it, but I'm going to have to give it a go.
Yeah, you can kind of overlook it. Thankfully. But what you cannot overlook, Richie, is that this is episode 120 of your weekly Stadia podcast, folks. We'll get into all the games, we'll get into all the news, but before we do all that, do not forget to click like down below on the video, subscribe to the channel, and share, and click that bell so more people can find us. You can help out the algorithm, you can help us out. And if you're listening on podcast services especially, you could do us a huge favour if you're on Spotify. Go review us. If you listen to us week in, week out, like many of you do, hundreds of you in fact, go review us. Click the little star, give whatever you prefer. 5 is of course appreciated. But it just helps algorithms, people find us, our channel and content grow, which brings you better content in turn. So why wouldn't you do that?
Review SideQuest while you're in there as well.
Yes, I reviewed SideQuest this week. It did tell me I had to listen to it before I actually reviewed it like I did with you, but let it play anyway. Even if you don't really listen, just hit play. Just hit play, sit back and listen to the sultry tones of our voices. Rounding up all of the news, like I said, folks, we have a great show for you this week. We're going to be talking about Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order 2, Ubisoft titles and games on the horizon and some of their partnership deals, all of the breaking news from CES regarding Stadia, and all of the updates coming to a TV near you in the future. And of course, we've got a NFT section dedicated, blockchained out, ready to use as well, plus a couple of game updates and much more. But before we dive into all the news, Richie, I know what you've been playing, but I feel like I'm going to ask it anyway. What have you been playing this week?
So I kind of took a bit of a week off gaming because I did a lot over Christmas and just like, you know, when you're a little bit burnt out, I'll take a week off. I'll do some other stuff. I'll watch catch up on some of the Disney Plus Marvel series. Mm-hmm. But then last night I jumped back into Tales of Arise, and I'm very close to the end. So I'm at the point where, when I'm very close to the end of the story. I'm gonna start checking off some trophies and stuff and like some content that I haven't yet done. So I racked up quite a few trophies on it last night.
Good.
So I am thinking of leaning into going for the platinum. The only one I have concerns about, there is a trophy to get all your characters up to like a level 100.
Ah, yes.
But I got by doing some side quests and stuff last night and a bit of the kind of final dungeon. My characters, I got them up from like level 49 to like 56.
Oh well, so you're getting away.
So it did seem to acceirate. So
if
hopefully
only you had shared XP, Richie.
Yeah,
it would help bring.
Well, actually, the shared XP in that game for each of your party members.
Oh well, so it's that.
Yeah,
but you turned it off, and I'm chipping away at Kena. I've got all the trophies bar 1 for the platinum, and it is complete the game on master difficulty. And my word, that game goes from being a lovely Pixar art-inspired style fun romp through an adventure world to fucking Demon Souls. Honestly, master difficulty is just... I've died so many times beyond count. And at the point where you're like... when you die and you kind of just grip the controller and out of sheer frustration, like feeling like you could snap it in half. I would never throw a controller. I feel like the conscious part of my brain that says, you paid good money for this piece of equipment... not. I know people launch them at TVs and floors and whatnot, but my
gamer rage is more internalized rather than just lashing out.
It's focused. I'm sure playing it late into the night and then frustrating and then trying to go to sleep, it's not helping with me settle. But yeah, I would never throw a piece of equipment, especially tech.
I actually had a gamer rage moment last night. I was in one of the like end game side bosses, and I lost, and it had the big bosses at the end of the game, kind of like once you got them down to like no health, there's a prompt to hit to kind of finish them off.
Right.
The prompt came up, and my character died. He's like, all my party was there. It's like, I just need to press one button to. So I had to do it again.
Just one moment. That's all it takes.
But that was like one of them moments. Like it's a long fight as well.
Long fight. Yeah, some of them are. I feel your pain. It's kind of mirrored in what I'm doing. Boss fights, and the bosses necessarily aren't the problem. It's the little minions who are running around at the same time whilst you're fighting. Yeah. So the little, if anyone's seen The Mummy 2 in Kina, there's lots of little characters that look like little tiki men, I would say, that run around, and they're not that strong, but they populate all the time, and they hack at your ankles while you're trying to focus on like the big troll stone golem or something that's there, and there they are, popping up.
It's classic boss fight strats. You got to take out the ads first.
The respawn, though, that's the problem. Is the
that's...
I know it repeats. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's almost better to leave them wandering around and just try and avoid them and focus on the boss. And if anything, they kind of push you to keep moving, because if you stand still, you're dead in that game.
The boss fight's designed by having the respawning ads so you can't use that strategy.
Yeah, otherwise you just try and hide, and it would be a little bit easier in a big space. But we digress, of course. That's what we've been playing this week, folks. Let us know what you've been playing. Let us know if you've rage quit recently on any game, Stadia or otherwise, this past week. Because we did play some games this Thursday, Richie. We're back. It's 2022. We're back to our regularly scheduled programme, in fact. Every Thursday, right here on YouTube.com. You can check out me, Richie and Tom, playing some games for your viewing pleasure, and also join in and playing with us. This week we put on our detective hats and we went and did some sleuthing with the Darkside Detective 2, Fumble in the Dark, to solve some cases. In this particular instance, it was the case of the missing Officer Dooley. Richie, you'd never played the Darkside Detective game.
I hadn't.
Free to claim on Stadia Pro this very month. What were your thoughts on it after that? We played about 2.5 hours. We solved the case.
The way we played it, like with me and you interacting, trying to solve the case together, interacting with the chat, I think was a really good way to play that game. It's not a game I think I'd sit down and play on my own, but if you're with someone like you played the first one with your wife, I think that is the perfect way to play it. Like, because then you kind of try to figure out, and you got one of you to go, what if we use this magic acorn over here?
Yeah. Again, one of my reasons I highly recommend the Darkside Detective is the writing and the humour throughout the game. It's written very, very well. It's the right type of comedy that I appreciate. And thanks to everyone in the chat who helped us out. Two Bag as well, with a couple of things where we got stuck a couple of times. And I think, totally agree, Richie. I think we both probably had some light bulb moments equally. Yeah. I don't think any of us was out and out solving the mystery on our own. I think it very much was bounce ideas off each other, see what we thought, and then we solved the case. A couple more cases to go, so we might jump back in if that's what you'd like out of their views and listeners. But terrific, great stuff. Check it out. It's available now in all its glory. But Richie, as I did say, we've got a great show lined up, plenty of stories to discuss. So if you could kickstart us off and introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
Another good week of news, of course. We're always worried at the beginning of a year. It can be quiet. People don't know what's happening. Everyone's still on leave. They forgot their passwords for the computer, so they can't get logged back in. And it tends to have a delay, a knock-on effect delay. However, we did have CES this month in Vegas, so the Consumer Electronics Show. Every year, you usually get some decent announcements, to be fair. And I think the way the world is right now, it often quite links in with the gaming industry, because it's getting bigger and bigger every year. A lot of it cross-pollinates as well.
CES would be one of them things I think would be fun to just go to as a tech fan, because you get like the new Samsung have brought out their new TV. It's almost identical to the last one from last year, but then you get some crazy shit as well.
You get like drone controlled Dyson fans that drive around your house, and so much stuff. And you're completely right. I think an in-person event would be great to go to. Although this year was stripped back a lot. I think it was mostly press who had access to it due to obviously the ongoing situations in the world, which actually ties in with some of our news stories later on. But we did get some news from it, so that in turn means we've actually got quite a juicy show, and a lot of it does pertain and link to Stadia in a really positive way. So
I was happy when we actually got some Stadia news out of it.
Yeah, we said on last week's show we would do our best to pull together the stories, and Stadia actually came out this week and said there won't be a this week on Stadia. It'll be delayed till next week as they come back from their winter hibernation.
To be fair, it makes sense, because they talked to us the last week before the Christmas break. Then nothing's happened, and they've come back to work, so there's nothing to really say.
Indeed. Indeed. They did drop a Stadia save point this week, we should say, which kind of summarised and rounded up everything for December, which makes for good reading if you don't keep in the loop as often and regular as we and our viewers and listeners out there do.
You know what's better than... Don't read the save point. Just watch December's episodes of the Stadia Podcast. It's better.
Go back 4 episodes.
Admittedly, it will take you longer, but you'll be more entertained.
Just a bit. Just a little bit. But before we do get into all the CS news, I wanted to kickstart the show off with story number 1. Richie, the Force is strong. Jedi Fallen Order 2. We have reports. We knew it was always happening because the game was so popular and well received. In fact, if anything, it saved EA from the 10-year license they had with the Star Wars IP, from kind of running it into the ground.
It is kind of like the only universally accepted positive in the entire EA Star Wars deal. Yeah.
Although I will defend Battlefront 2. I have the Platinum in Battlefront 2. I had hours upon hours of fun in that game.
I enjoy Battlefront 2 as well, but I pick my words universally positive for a reason. Like, there is a good game in Battlefront 2. Pre-launch and on-launch, there was some dodgy stuff.
Yeah.
And Star Cards can fuck right off. So.
Okay. Well, they did. Yeah. They did.
Yeah.
So the news comes courtesy of Jeff Grubb speaking on the Grubb Snacks podcast, which is hilarious. I just think of the Bug Snacks song every time I read that. Yeah. Jeff Grubb, famed for bringing us good news, part of the Giant Bomb team. At some point, he's revealed that it is going to be revealed before or around E3 2022 in June, which could mean either the game will be out later this year, possibly looking for a November release, as we did with the original Jedi Fallen Order in 2019, or slightly later, probably early 2023. Now, we're in an interesting time for the year when the roadmap ahead, we discussed it on last week's show, we'll talk about it in this week's episode of SideQuest, but the year ahead, the back end of it seems to be quite empty where we don't have many dates. Now, Jedi Fallen Order 2,
I'd say that's fairly normal, though. I'd say that's fairly normal to have the back end. We know stuff is coming in the back end of the year, but we don't have dates yet for it. I think that's fairly normal for this part of the year.
Yeah,
You'll probably find in quarter 1, quarter 2, these dates will start falling, especially with E3, because you'll get the whole thing, it's going to be fall 2022, and then at E3 it'll go, it's October.
Yeah, indeed. Oh yeah, time will fly by. So to quote from the podcast as well, Jeff Grubb said, expect to hear about the game in a significant way before E3, before added yet. There is a chance the game will release in 22, but the most likely bet will be early 2023. So, of course, this is from the Titanfall developers, Respawn, who also work on Apex Legends and the Titanfall series that's currently on hiatus. The original title sold over 10 million copies, of course, and came to Stadia on May. It's a pro game as well last year, just in time for Star Wars Day, May the 4th. And it's an interesting one because the turnaround for this type of game, I've got to imagine they knew it was going to be good really, really early doors. I think sales numbers out the door were super good. 2019 into 2020, the year that everyone hates. Then 2021, then 2022. So it's not quite 4 years, it's probably like 2.5. But I'm not sure how quick Respawn can turn this around. So what do you think, Richie? Later this year, this winter, or
I think next year? I'm thinking next year. I think they'll go be targeting this winter, but I just don't think with the way things have went in gaming over the last 2 years that they'll hit that date. Yeah, especially with the relatively short time frame, within 2 years between games. I feel that's quite a short turnaround, especially when you consider generational leap as well.
True.
So it's not like you can just use the previous engine and go, there we go. There needs to be a bit more, I think, a lot more refinement to make this a next-gen experience.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is a big studio. They're a very good studio, so I might be wrong. Maybe they can do this in 2 years.
Yeah, it would be interesting to be just. I was going to say a fly on the wall, but then I was trying to think of a Star Wars creature to be like a Salacious Crumb Jabba the Hutt thing hanging from the ceiling, listening into these, because we thought for a while that Jedi Fallen Order would have got some kind of DLC or added content, and it did, but it just came in the form of a free challenge arena mode. It did get, we should point out, last year, it did get a next-gen version. So PS5, Series X did get their boosted up frame rates and resolutions. So they did work on that.
Alright, so that work's already kind of been done then.
Yeah, so it makes me think, without doing any DLC, did they just pivot to a campaign? Well, and I'm always curious to know, with the assets already existing, like obviously the world and the fight mechanics and stuff.
Yeah,
how much work actually
every asset from scratch.
So I'm just curious.
Well, actually, yeah. Now I think of it as like, well, there's a lot of things they could have done. Is like they might have already had the story for the second game plotted out before the first game even launched. Like they might have already been working on that. So when it came to start production, a lot of things might have already been in place. Again, a lot of the assets already existed. Probably need tweaking and developing, but you're not creating this character from scratch. He exists already. So there's a lot of like, I imagine, a second game in the franchise is probably quite a bit quicker to produce in some ways.
It's an interesting one as well because EA, obviously, they've not really put out as many first-person single-player games. They predominantly focus on multiplayer at the moment. But we've got to remember, this is EA. They are huge. They could turn around a game in a year. They do it with their sports titles every single 12 months.
And there's
Very
always problems with that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, indefinitely. Yeah. But
you can do it, you probably shouldn't, is where I usually stand on stuff like that. You kind of have to for sports titles, but for a single-player, narrative-driven action-adventure, take your time.
Yeah, 100% take your time. And what do you think then, Richie? Before E3, in my mind, immediately puts it at Star Wars Celebration.
Star Wars, when is Star Wars?
I think it's in May. So
it'll be May the 4th, won't it?
I don't think it actually is May the 4th.
It should be.
It should be. Let's see.
It could be. I was thinking maybe an EA Play event in like the first quarter or something could happen. With this being the focal point.
May 26th to the 29th.
So technically, this game hasn't been formally announced yet, has it?
No, but
we know it's been announced that they're working on it, but that's like we haven't been. There's been no like key art or anything. There's been no trailers, no teasers.
Definitely. Do remember though that the original was revealed literally in the audience. I think Andrea Rene went and sat next to I forgot the guy's name who runs the studio. He runs pretty much all of Respawn and more now. They literally asked him. He went, "Oh yeah, he's the screen." And they had just the logo. That was it, and that was the reveal for like a new Star Wars game, which is insane. But of course, now the license is opened up, so we should point out we're also getting Star Wars Eclipse from Quantic Dream. Not confirmed for Stadia, obviously we don't know what's going on there. And then Ubisoft, which will come to Stadia, I'd like to think. Are working on an open one. It's the massive team who do The Division. But then we know the Division team have also got Avatar and the Division 2 season year 2, whatever that looks like, to work on. So multiple plates spinning in the Star Wars world right now.
Well, if the Respawn game is going to be 2022, maybe the Ubisoft game at earliest is probably going to be 2023. Because you don't want to oversaturate the market. You don't want these games compete. I'm sure Disney don't want these games competing directly against each other, and that actually spacing them out makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, well,
Eclipse might be a bit different because it's more of a narrative.
I think Eclipse is still a good probably 4+ years out because it was only project, I think, early. I think they're still set in concept when they revealed it. But yeah, and with having the Star Wars license, it's not as a case of we want to put the game out now. There is, like, as you alluded to, there is the wider play of Disney in motion. If they have a movie planned or a Disney Plus series, they might not want that cross-pollination to happen. They're trying to push a new... what's the Diego Luna's character in Star Wars Rogue One? Andor. Is he called Andor? I can't remember now.
Cassian Andor?
Cassian, yeah.
That feels like
it's
a Star Wars
called Andor,
name.
yeah. There's a Disney Plus series. If they don't want that crossing over with whatever Eclipse ends up being or what the Ubisoft game is, they might like literally contact the developer and say, hold this until winter, hold this until summer. Or
I think I could see them doing some cross-pollination between them. So it's like, we've got a new like, let's say The Mandalorian season 3 is coming out along in the same month as the Ubisoft game. So then the Star Wars hype for that month just goes skyrockets to get people in. But in terms of two fairly sizable games, you just wouldn't really want to like have these directly competing. You want probably a couple of months at least apart.
You don't want to cannibalize your own.
Yeah, well, look what Ubisoft did. It wasn't last year. It was the year before with things like Valhalla and
Immortals
and
Watch Dogs.
Like 3 games came out within like 2 weeks, and it's just like they're getting in the way. We don't have the time to play all these.
Yeah.
So then it's a case of pick which one you prefer.
Yeah.
Where to spread them out, I think they would have seen, all of them would have seen better return.
I mean, ironically, Respawn, Titanfall got totally screwed over by Battlefield and Call of Duty come out the same. EA did the exact same thing to these developers several years back as well. So, I'm just really happy as a Star Wars fan. Like, we've got games coming. Jedi Fallen Order was I think it was my game of the year 2019. I think it was either between that and Control.
I really, really enjoyed it. I just didn't love it. I don't know why. I struggled to get into it at first. Like the way the controls just didn't feel great to me at first on Jedi Fallen Order. But as I got more involved in the story, that kind of took a back seat.
Yeah, well,
it just did that. It took me. It's one of them. Have you ever watched a TV series where you watch the first episode and I didn't get into that?
Yeah.
Then 3 months later you watch it again. It's like, why didn't I enjoy this? I don't know what was I thinking. That was Jedi Fallen Order for me.
Yeah. And that's the great thing with a story-driven game, is it's a couple of chapters in, it could totally flip the script on its head. Whereas if it doesn't have that game, if it doesn't have that story, then if the gameplay's bad, the gameplay's probably always going to be bad.
Because the game is it is tough right from the start. It's not an easy experience. It's not quite Dark Souls, but it's leaning that direction. So I think once I kind of got a grip with the mechanics and how the game flows and stuff, I think I enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah, definitely. I was a massive fan of it. I still am. I keep getting that itch to go back to it, but then there's so many other things to play. But yeah, so Jedi Fallen Order 2. Hopefully we get a proper announcement not too far in the distant near future. And we'll keep you in the loop with that. I guess to wrap up that story number 1, Richie, it's got to come to Stadia, right? You can't have Jedi Fallen Order 1 and then not follow the sequel up.
I'd hope so. I think it's got a very good chance, but at the moment we don't know what EA and Stadia's relationship is, because they had that five game deal. They now have 5 games on the platform.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we really don't know. And EA are not a guarantee to launch everything on the platform. They're not a Ubisoft.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they don't have a strategic partner. Like if they came out, and we'll probably talk about it at some point later on this show, actually, when we speak about Ubisoft. But if EA Play had a similar deal with Stadia, like you could subscribe to EA Play and play it via Stadia, with that kind of relationship, I'd say, well, it's coming to EA Play, so by proxy it will come to Stadia. But until Google and EA work out that kind of similar Ubisoft arrangement, and we get that consistency,
that'd be really good if they started, because I'm a big fan. I mean, we can probably do a SideQuest on this at some point, where I'm a big fan of consumer choice. So I like these subscription services existing, but I also like the ability to just buy a game that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And pick and choose how I want to pay for it. And that's what we have with Stadia and Ubisoft. So if EA want to do that as well, do it. Yeah. I'm in. I might not subscribe to your service, but I will be happy that it's there.
I've got to imagine that's happening, and like I said, we'll probably discuss it deeper on story number 3, I think it is. But yeah, like EA Play is part of Game Pass now. It's on PlayStation, it's on Origin via PC. So like that relationship has to be happening. Google have to be having those conversations. Like they have to be renegotiating this deal, because if we go into the end of this year and do not get FIFA 23, if we do not get Madden 23, if Jedi Fallen Order isn't confirmed as coming, if there's no chance in hell we're getting Apex Legends, even though it's on Nintendo Switch as well, like there's something that has to be done there. So we'll talk about that. Yeah. We've got a whole SideQuest dedicated this week to a different third-party publisher, Richie, which our members, again, if you're out there and you're thinking, actually, I'd love that content now, our awesome members out there who support the channel a bit more, do get SideQuest up to 6 days early when it drops every Sunday right here on YouTube, and you can get it too from as little as 99p. So if you like what we do, if you want to know more of our content, if you want to discuss it a little bit further, check us out on the membership channel.
Yeah, join as a member, finish this show, and go straight into SideQuest. You just head over to the community tab and it'll be there for you.
Exactly, and as the Emperor would say, do it. Do it. But moving on, story number 3 is all about E3 in digital events, which we hope to see Google Stadia at this year, but coming straight out of the ESA, the Electronic Software Association, they put out statements saying It will be returning this year in a digital E3 format similar to the last 2 years due to the ongoing health risks surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and its potential impact on the safety of exhibitors and attendees. This comes from GameSpeed, but since December, the Omicron variant, as we know, has spread rapidly, disrupting business, travel, education and healthcare. Omicron has thus contributed to hundreds of thousands of new infections, not only across the US but the globe, where E3 is held in the States. This week's Consumer Electronics Show, which we just referenced in Vegas, saw multiple major technical companies pull out in the occasion of a health concern and the virus spreading. So they've planned for 2022 to be another return. They had planned, for this to return to an in-person event. However, they've decided to divert course back to what's probably safer and for the best in going digital. However, they have quoted saying, "Nonetheless, we're excited about the future of E3 and looking forward to announce more details soon." Within minutes of that actually going out, we might as well bundle these in. Jeff Keighley tweeted out about the Summer Games Fests returning this year, which is kind of his response to E3 going digital. Jeff Keighley, of course, host of the Game Awards. He's got a lot of great relationships going. Now they're all digital. It's kind of the same thing. Just Jeff Keighley drags it out over many weeks and months.
Yeah, well, with E3, it's very much this is the E3 week. You pay. I think traditionally you'd pay to either be just an exhibit on the floor or get stage presence. Where Jeff Keighley's just kind of, I'm just going to bundle all the press conferences that happen in the summer together under one banner, even if they are also at E3. Yeah.
Anything related to gaming that's announced throughout like May through till September, Jeff just tweets out and says, "Yeah, that's part of Games Fest. That's part of Games Fest." Back to what we were saying about CES though, Richie. Like E3 would be one of those events that I would just love to attend at one point in my life. Same with either Gamescom or something, where just wandering the floor, seeing all these indie titles, people who enjoy the same hobby as you, just being in one place. That's why conventions are so good. We
watch all the major press conferences every year, but I think it'd be a different experience entirely if you're just walking on the floor and you can see an indie developer on a tiny stall. You can go over, have a chat to them,
see Phil Harrison,
talk to other gamers. Be sat there with my Razer Kishi, playing a game in the middle of the conference floor,
without judgment.
Yeah.
Of course, that is on Stadia, actually, judgment. So you've got E3 going digital. Summer Games Fest is only digital. That only ever has been. They're going to cross-pollinate, of course. They're going to kick off later on in the summer. So we're many months away now, but it's great to know it's coming back. I know there's been lots of kind of E3's dead, and I do think it needs to rebrand and reshape, and I think it's doing it with the digital content.
I think a lot of that E3 is dead comes from the more traditional gaming journalists who have seen it change time and time again over the years, whereas more gaming enthusiasts, it's still a key cornerstone in our calendar.
Yeah.
I like this announcement, to be honest. I think they've made the right choice. You know what? We're not going to mess around. The Omicron is pretty much, it's out there. It's happening. We're not going to put people at risk. We're just going to do it digital. Let's be decisive on it, and let's just announce our intentions as early as we can. I think it's good.
Yeah, and they're doing it so early that there'll be no shock.
Yeah.
If they did this in like early May when people are starting to prep and get ready,
that's it.
Yeah, it's
they've been decisive with it. It's like they've looked at it. It might have just been a case of, we'll see what happens over Christmas. First week back, we'll make our decision, and they've made the decision and announced it. So good.
How long do you suspect Jeff Keighley has had that tweet saved, ready to go out with an image for this year? Like, as soon as E3 say anything, Jeff's like, right, I need to also tell the world that we are also back this summer.
Oh, he probably had it. He's probably had it for months.
Whenever they announce it, Jeff posts it out.
Yeah,
because that's his direct competition, right? He's trying, not obviously in a malicious way, but he wants to be bigger than E3. And without E3 having a physical presence, it gives him an equal platform for the same stuff. And with him having these ties to Kojima and the fact that everyone's digital now, Ubisoft Forward, we've got EA Play events, we've got Nintendo Directs, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox. There isn't really a need for E3, which is why you get all these stories about it dying. But
yeah. Well, I think we have to remember some of this Game Fest came about in 2020 when there was huge question marks over, is E3 going to happen? Because at the time it was planned to be physical, and COVID happens. Like, is it going to happen? Is it not? Is it cancelled? And then Jeff Keighley just went, yeah, I'm going to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I think Summer Games Fest will have a bigger purpose once E3 returns to having a physical presence.
Yeah.
Because then they kind of can coexist a lot easier rather than just basically overlapping.
Yeah. At the moment,
just
they're
different
the same.
key art.
Yeah. There's no differentiator other than who you can sign on to show up. And I do think it has been a blow for E3, the fact that they don't have, like, Nintendo dropped out, PlayStation dropped out, Xbox with the last physical one. But like, I used to get hyped for it because, like you said, Richie, you had just several days clumped together. We got all the news in like a massive mega drop.
Back when Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony all had a stage presence, like different days, like these are big drops for the industry. But then Sony's pulled out, and now, well, Nintendo kind of dropped down to more just a direct.
Yeah.
And then Sony have pulled out the last few years. So it's interesting. I think the way this stuff happens is changing a lot, I think. I think, again, E3 will have more of a presence, a purpose, once the physical convention side of it can return.
Yeah, I agree.
Because a digital press conference, like, you could just publish one. Like,
I agree.
Like Ubisoft do all the time. We're just going to do a Ubisoft Forward now. Here you go.
Yeah, it literally.
You don't need an event to do that.
Yeah, the video can just be dropped at any moment of any day because it's again, these companies are global companies. But yeah, to kind of bring all that together, I guess it's good to know it's coming back. It's more game news on the horizon for us. I would love to know, in a parallel alternate universe, if none of this happened and stage presences were a thing, would we have seen Stadia at the real events? Like, if there was a stage presence to be booked, a slot to be booked between Ubisoft and Bethesda or whoever, would Phil Harrison have been on stage with his representatives saying, we've had a great first year of Stadia, this is what's going on, or has everything going digital and virtual allowed them to hide behind nothingness, essentially, for a while?
I don't know. It's hard to know if their strategy ever incorporated D3, because before they had their concept of like the Stadia Connect, which is basically, then they seem to have dropped that concept entirely. Yeah, so it's hard to know if things would have played out differently. I think having an event like E3 would have been really good for Stadia if they just on the ground they had a Stadia booth, they had some games, some Chromecast and stuff set up, as long as it's got decent internet and people can get hands on with the product. Yeah. In the early days, but now we've had 2 years where they haven't been able to get people hands on, and we're not talking like just a classic casual gamers who turn up there. We're talking like massive gaming executives and stuff, the gaming press, like all sorts of influencers are going there to cover stuff. All that sort of stuff. You'd have these people, their curiosity, even if they're not a Stadia fan or didn't think, I'm not that interested in Stadia, their curiosity probably would have took them over. Well, it's there, I'll go have a look. And then you got people from the Stadia team able to pitch it to them. So I think something like that could have helped, definitely. Yeah,
we've actually done a side quest, I believe, about how COVID and pandemic has actually impacted the launch of Stadia, because like the reality is everyone's been working from home. The people who write the articles for journalists haven't been travelling as much, where maybe Stadia would have allowed them to play Cyberpunk on their commute, on their travels, while they're in a hotel. And because none of that happened, I do feel like it actually missed out on the core journalistic side who do write the articles or explore the convention centres. You're right, Richie, they're missing the opportunity to get hands-on. So all these people got sent probably Premier Edition, used it on their own shitty home network, didn't work, and then went, okay, I'm going to write an article about it now. And they've moved on with their lives because it's been quiet.
The difference between, in the current state of affairs, Google have to kind of go to these journalists and go, you should have a go at this. Because the game journalists most of them have moved on from Stadia. They assumed it's dead. They're not interested. It isn't selling clicks. It isn't selling ads for them on their websites. But if that you have massive press convention, something like E3 or whatever, Paris Games Week or whatever, and you're physically there, that's going to draw people to you rather than you having to pursue them. Yeah, and that's an easier position to be in.
That's it. You got to play in the same circles, and that's kind of what I think we've said about Stadia for since they launched. Is if they're competing with PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo and PC, they have to be in the same circles. You have to swim in the same circles and discuss stuff and be at these conventions because that's where everyone else is.
it's not necessarily about competing with them. It's about carving out your niche in this industry. It's the same. It's the same with YouTube. Like, it's all about carving out a niche, which is why we are Stadia dedicated podcasts. We do a few other little bits here and there, but predominantly our two shows are both Stadia focused and they're both podcasts. Mm-hmm. That's our niche in the gaming YouTube space.
Exactly. But
Google should know that. Google should understand that.
I mean, they've got more analytics than we do cells in our body, I'm sure. So we'll keep an eye on all that E3 news as it unravels. We did get some massive news that it doesn't link to Stadia, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Ubisoft Plus, of course. You can play it, you can sign up for it, you can use it on Google Stadia. In fact, they announced this week a big drop that it's coming to Xbox, and the reason we bring it up is it's not included in Game Pass or anything yet, but it does mean that all of the Ubisoft games that you know and love so well will be playable via Ubisoft Plus on an Xbox console. No doubt this is going to obviously help promote Ubisoft Plus in the cloud as well. Whether that's through xCloud, we'll soon find out. And that gives you access to over 100 titles for a single monthly cost, including the gold editions and all the DLC as per the rules. But the additional piece to this, Richie, is that Rainbow Six Extraction was also announced as coming to Game Pass day one. So you've kind of got like a double hit here of Ubisoft Plus is coming to Xbox. It's also coming with Rainbow Six Extraction day one. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before Ubisoft Plus is folded into Xbox Ultimate Game Pass. We'll have to see how those dominoes fall. But the reason I kind of bring it up and why it pertains to Stadia is just Game Pass again coming out swinging and making people rethink their purchasing decisions, because why would you drop £30-40 on Extraction when you can just play it alongside Infinite, Gears of War, Forza, Psychonauts for arguably just a little monthly price extra?
Bethesda.
And all the Bethesda titles, So I think it's huge for Game Pass. We've said many times on the show the value of Game Pass cannot be denied. But I've seen in the comments already across social media like how many people have then came out and said, well, I'm just going to cancel my pre-order now because I'm just going to play on Game Pass. And I think the longer this goes on, the longer they get these big hitter titles day in, date, it does skew people's kind of like, well, why would I? Like, I'm a big fan of like fully owning the games, but the sheer value is insane.
The value keeps going up and up. I think I said in our early days of the Sounds of Stadia podcast that Xbox's first party lineup have never interested me. So therefore, despite admiring it as a piece of tech, I've never really been interested in owning an Xbox. Game Pass has completely changed my views on Xbox and has always kept me tempted. The main reason I have a PS5, not an Xbox Series X, is one, I can only afford one of them, and Sony's first parties are awesome. Mm-hmm. So, but if you're not looking at the Sony first party games, like if you're just like, oh yeah, I really like Ubisoft games and I like Bethesda games, Game Pass is the way forward. Like, it is such good value.
Yeah. And the reason I kind of bring it up is because of the Ubisoft Plus crossover. Like, you can pay for the two subscriptions separately, but then you've got... And I always like to bring it back around to topical stuff. And, of course, Stadia Pro, we've said a few times, I think, in recent weeks, and we've done SideQuest shows on that. Does it need to kind of have a refresh for this year? And I think nearing the end of last year, a lot of people had problems with Pro, the 4K, the 60 frames, saying, well, you pay for that premium, and the majority of the games don't even hit that. So... I'm paying for a selection of titles, and the titles have been great this last year. We said Jedi Fallen Order, Control, and a bunch of stellar ones in between, Dirt 5 and the like. However, they're not day one. Like, we got Little Nightmares 2 day and date is the only title I can recall from the last year.
Stadia's in a very difficult position because they're not. I don't think they're strong enough to dictate to, say, an EA or Ubisoft and going, all your games on our platform must run at 60 frames per second in 4K. Mm-hmm. Our hardware is definitely capable of it. I just don't think they have that kind of clout in the industry, which means they just kind of have to accept what they can get their hands on. Mm-hmm. And then we've already added in the fact that there's missing things in the libraries. Like, I do think the 4K 60 should be taken out of Pro and just made standard, because there is people paying for that, and then the games aren't coming, or coming much, much later.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting their patches later, and so it's like it's not a great look, especially if you're not interested in the games that are coming as part of your Pro subscription. And there's the 5.1 surround sound, but if you're playing on your phone or just a Chromecast and you don't have a surround sound system, I don't, then that's useless. And then if the 4K 60 stuff is kind of useless, like, yeah, I do think it needs a revamp. They need to rethink what Pro is.
Yeah, what does it mean to someone? And again, like, we're not denying the library is fantastic. You can claim, like, I think Save Point quoted this week saying you can claim over 45 games. And again, Pro, once you've claimed them, you keep them forever, which it is the advantage over Game Pass. Games do get cycled out of Game Pass, so Extraction will not always be available on Game Pass. However, while the game is brand new and you're being asked by Ubisoft to pay £40 for it, I think it's 40. It got a price drop down to 35, 40. The difference is you could just pay the subscription or get it with Game Pass, just like a one-off $9.99 a month, and you've got all of those stellar Xbox titles that have just won awards at the end of last year. Plus that, it's not in the cloud. I don't think they've confirmed it for Xbox Cloud Gaming. However, again, it's that kind of that weighing up scale of like how much
but
you have to spend or want to spend.
If you've got Ubisoft, for example, let's say you've got Ubisoft Plus and you've got Extraction, you're playing on Xbox and you want to play in the cloud, you just play it on Stadia.
Yeah, because you have Ubisoft Plus.
Yeah, so you can play it on both. Like,
true.
And if something like that gets cycled out of Game Pass and it's a game that you really enjoy, buy the game.
Yeah, you've got options at your disposal.
Yeah, if it's like, you might be gutted about it, but it's like, if it's like you've played 100 hours and you're planning to just keep playing this game, it's like, just give the developers the money. They deserve it.
Yeah, I'm guessing with this kind of deal, there's kind of several prongs to it. My first one is that Ubisoft Microsoft hope that people sign up for Game Pass because you get the game included day one. So rather than buy the game for £30, £35, £40, whatever it is, they pay £10, they're getting a Game Pass, they get the game. They like Extraction. Secondly, for Ubisoft, that is going to boost Extraction's numbers hugely. The amount of people who are going to just check out this game purely because it's including Game Pass is going to bump up their player base massively. Which for all players out there, this game's fully cross-player. So that's great for everybody. That's like an extra couple million probably coming in that wouldn't have otherwise checked it out or played the game. That's another great addition. I'd be really curious to know if Extraction leaves Game Pass, what the conversion numbers are over to Ubisoft Plus. Like, how many people go, I enjoyed Extraction, I played it for 2 months, it left Game Pass, so I opted in for the Ubisoft Plus to play it on there. Because all these metrics feed into subscription models, how they all benefit each other. Yeah,
I think if you got a core group of people who got into it on Game Pass, and then let's say it just exists on Game Pass for 1 month, at the end of that month, like, well, I still want to play this,
but I don't want to buy it.
Then you're going to make a decision. Do I just buy the game?
Yeah.
Because the game's not that expensive, to be fair.
And that's
do I go with Ubisoft Plus, and then I also get access to things like Assassin's Creed, etc., Immortals Phoenix Rising, Watch Dogs.
And that's, of course, where the allure of having a library of hundreds of games come from. Yeah. So, yes, you enjoyed Extraction. I'm going to sign up for Ubisoft Plus. But then that allure of, you know what? I actually also get the brand new awesome Valhalla, which has just got new content drop. I get, like you said, all Watch Dogs and the 100-game back catalogue, Rayman and the like, for just a 1 monthly fee. And then it's back to that Netflix argument of, well, why would I buy a movie on a DVD or a Blu-ray or rent it when I could just pay, have it, and then it's just there?
That's clearly what Ubisoft are banking on. Banking on, like, you leveraging Game Pass to get people into the game, and then having them transition over to their own service, either whether it's through Ubisoft Plus or just buy the game.
Yeah. So to boil all that down then, Richie, do you think Ubisoft Plus will be part of Game Pass Ultimate one day? Similar to EA Play?
I don't know, because Ubisoft seem to be pushing everything onto Ubisoft Plus. And to incorporate that into Game Pass, I think you'd have to increase the price of Game Pass. I think it probably better serves standing as just a standalone. I actually would even argue this for EA Play. Like, they're probably better off being these standalone services as an add-on to your subscription rather than maybe you add another tier in that gets Ubisoft Plus in there.
Yeah, because you've got Game Pass, which is just Xbox, and then you've got Ultimate, which is PC and more. And interesting with the Sony news for PlayStation and their revamp of PlayStation Plus or whatever that project was called, and when they come out with a tier system, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And this brings it all back around to Stadia Pro and why maybe even keep Stadia Pro but have something extra that gives you that little bit more value. Like if Ubisoft Plus and Pro could be combined, or we've said before, if Pro and YouTube Premium could be combined, just to give it that extra cutting edge value that would branch other for me, avenues.
The idea is, I mean, you can get Ubisoft Plus and you can have Stadia Pro at the same time. But if these could be combined into a single tiered service, so it's just one subscription fee coming out your bank every month, rather than two different accounts that you have to micromanage, then I think that it's a slight. It's not necessary, but it is a bit more consumer friendly. Yeah, because the service is there. But
we'll see. Yeah. But kicking all that off though, probably touch on a little bit while we're here. Extraction does come out in just over 2 weeks now. It drops on the 20th of January, so it is the first big AAA title of the year. After the price drop, I have noticed more people being emailed regarding their Stadia pre-order this past week, stating in the email that essentially if you have pre-ordered the game at full price, Stadia will cancel your pre-order and you will be allowed to pre-order at the newer price point yourself. So it's not automatic, Richie. They will cancel it. So basically, anyone who pre-ordered the game, it's been cancelled. You have to go in and pre-order yourself.
I'm sure there's some awkward technical reason why they've had to do it that way, but that's not great.
It's a bit odd, isn't it? Because they're essentially making you do work for something that you've already pre-ordered.
Let's be fair, a lot of people don't have a very well curated inbox. So if they've missed that email, then suddenly the game isn't there.
Yeah, that would be more of a problem if they had to download the game at least.
Yeah, but then there's things like potential pre-order bonuses and stuff.
Inevitably, yes.
That you may miss out on. You've pre-ordered the game, but because you've missed an email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fond of that. But I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that there's been some technical nonsense that's meant that the cat didn't have a choice.
Yeah, my thought process is just this a game hasn't probably been price cut before on Stadia before launch. Yeah. So rather than have to relist the whole thing, the easiest workaround is cancel. I mean, Stadia know, but we don't. How many pre-orders did they probably actually have of the game? Because I think Extractions really fell off the boil a little bit, and that's why I think the Game Pass deal has happened. Because I think early numbers. This was probably great last summer when it was supposed to come out. Now it's had another 6 months in the oven, and more games have been announced and bigger titles have came out. I think it's kind of fell off the boil.
Last year was quite a quiet year, so something like this could have, I think, done better. This year's looking like a bit more busier in terms of your big AAAs throughout the year. Yeah, so it might just get lost in the mix. Yeah. But there again, something like the Rainbow Six Siege took its while to find its feet. So
true. Yeah, how much of that audience is going to be pulled over consistently?
Oh god, I think there'd be a significant amount of Rainbow Six Siege players jump over to this to give it a go. A lot of them will end up jumping back, or maybe they play both.
They've been waiting 6 years for another Rainbow Six game, so here it is.
They haven't because they keep adding to Siege. So
true. We'll have to see. Yeah. Although I do sound a little bit muted on the game now, it is the first big AAA game on Stadia this year, so I definitely want to check it out, especially with our audience out there, the big fans of Rainbow Six. We've had loads of fun over the past few months playing Siege, so I'm more than happy to jump in and check this game out. We should point out as well, it does come with a buddy pass across all platforms. I don't know how that's going to look on Stadia, but essentially if we wanted to play it, or someone out there wanted to play it, you can lend the game. You can share the game with up to 2 people for 2 hours of free trial gameplay. So I'd be surprised if the next 2 weeks we see a trial version of Extraction drop on the Stadia store after launch, so people can, like a demo free trial kind of set up.
It might just be a code, so you can just go into the Stadia, type in the code, and that version gets redeemed rather than have it in the storefront. Yeah,
well, it does say on the buddy site for Extraction, it does say that it is a in-game link sent via the friend list in-game, so it's not done by the platform, it's done via Ubisoft direct. So
all right, that's
we'll see what it looks
Watch
like.
out for hiccups on that one then.
Yeah, inevitably, but we'll have to wait and see. Not too long. It's only 12 days away. Moving on then, back to some CES news. As I mentioned, we got some huge positive news for Stadia this week at CES, as they announced, in partnership with Samsung, that their new line of smart TVs for 2022 and beyond are going to feature video games, cloud games specifically, as part of a new gaming hub coming to the interface of all new Samsung TVs. They teased off that Nvidia's GeForce Now, Google Stadia and Utomic cloud gaming services will be part of the gaming hub. They showcased a few images, a few static images, basically showing off AI cloud gaming and how the monitors and stuff will work. For those who've not seen it, it's essentially like any other kind of tile-based menu screen. However, it has, within the apps and devices, just like you would see on your TV currently with like Disney Plus, Netflix and such, Stadia, GeForce Now, Utomic, and then direct inputs for HDMI 1 and you know what a TV menu looks like, guys. I don't have to tell you that. But Richie, more importantly, it's another big get for Stadia in terms of the TV cloud gaming space. We had the LG update just before Christmas, which opened the door up to millions and millions of LG TVs that sold every year. Now they've partnered with Samsung, who are one of the other biggest massive television making companies in the world, arguably one of the biggest tech companies in the world. And this is huge, I think, for two reasons. One, because it's millions of more TVs that are now going to have Stadia right there on the screen. But more importantly, Samsung had a deal with Xbox for xCloud running last year with the Samsung phones and this. And now xCloud is nowhere to be seen, but Nvidia and Stadia are. So I'm wondering if there's a change in the winds behind the scenes with all these business deals going on and what it means for cloud gaming on smart TVs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely good. I don't know, I don't really want to read too much into the xCloud not being there anymore thing. It might actually just be there, it might just not being announced as being there. Mm-hmm. You won't know until you buy the TV. The one thing I think I said this like last year with the LG news is what I think Stadia need to do is put some serious consideration into putting a deal out there. So if you buy one of these new TVs that has Stadia pre-installed as an app, bundle in a controller with the TV.
100%.
Bundle one in, because it's a lot easier. If you buy a new TV, you put it on the wall, everyone does, you're messing up for the apps. Oh, what's the Stadia app? Oh, it's a gaming thing. I don't have a controller.
I'm out. Yeah, done.
Yeah, I'm out. If you have a controller in the box and go, oh, I'll give it a go. Especially, 14 days. Oh, is it like 3 months free of Stadia Pro?
Yeah.
So for the next 3 months, I've got games coming every month. So it can be an easy way of getting people in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And for the price of putting a controller in with the TV box.
Yeah, it's the allure of subscriptions again. So I think we totally right with the LG stuff. We said, give them that control. Like you were giving away the Premier editions for 20 odd quid. So
yeah, just
$22. So bundle it in, and that is the best example, Richie. And that's when you get children playing the pro games, playing the outright kids games, the family titles on the TV, and they claim 45 games for free. And all it takes, Richie, is the subscription lapses, mum and dad want to cancel it, but little Timmy is still playing that DreamWorks Dragons game. Mum and dad keep the subscription going for one extra month because he hasn't finished playing with the game yet. Next month comes around, more games drop. Hey, what do you know? There's a Nickelodeon game, or there's I'm trying to think of all the other titles. What are the... Like, you know what I mean? Another game that appeals to him. And then Google have banked another 10 quid for Pro. The subscription continues. And then he tells his friends about it. And this is what we say about marketing is you need to get in the places. You need that physical presence in people's homes and shop fronts so it can start to proliferate and grow out and people can talk, and it's free marketing. But if you don't have that option, like you said, people just go, oh, well, there's an app for Stadia. Don't know what that is. Delete or move on.
Yeah.
And you've lost them. And that's your opportunity gone.
I mean, look at the screenshot. There's a sponsored content section which actually does list Stadia. Mm-hmm. So let's say, example, next Assassin's Creed comes out. That could be in that spot, advertising for Stadia. You click that, it takes you to the Stadia store page. You're buying Assassin's Creed. Oh, I can get things like Assassin's Creed on this. I can get Immortals Phoenix Rising. I can't get Call of Duty yet, but it gets people to looking into the Stadia store. It'll push people into the Stadia store page, and I do think that controller is the missing link in all these deals.
Yeah.
Because if you're a kind of, I don't know, your dad, you don't have much time to play games because you got to work, you got to feed the kids and wash them and paint them or whatever you have
need
to do.
Feed the kids. It's very important to parenting.
Yeah, so you don't have that much free time to like get into gaming. So a gaming console just seems like ridiculous, too much money. Then you see a Stadia app. So well, I can't interact with this app because I don't have a gaming controller. Mm-hmm. Oh well, I'm out. But if the controller came in the box as a freebie, I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, and how many people would genuinely like click the app when they get the TV with the TV remote and just go, and the first message that pops up is going, "Do you have a controller?" And they're going to go, "No." Escape, exit app, back to Netflix or something. We should point out as well, these TVs, they have announced that they will be compatible with PlayStation, Xbox controllers from launch, which is great, but then you're also relying on somebody going and pairing a controller with TV, and it's one extra step, whereas the cloud and the Stadia controllers, they have the benefit of all you need to do is link it to your Wi-Fi, and it's done universally across multiple devices. But again, we can't deny it's great to see. It's another huge brand now on board, and it does open the door up to millions more.
It does increase awareness. I do think adding a good controller into the mix would be a significant jump up.
Yeah, indeed. Especially if the controller can somehow navigate the whole gaming hub.
Yeah.
So that would be like another...
That would be good for the Chromecast as well. If I could just use my Stadia controller for the whole thing.
Yeah, completely. It is good to see, though, from the back of this news, there's a lot of journalists' websites picked up on it, gaming journalists, tech website enthusiasts, and the articles have actually been quite positively embracing the fact that all of this new tech, all these new smart TVs, come with it. I don't know whether it's because Nvidia are involved as well, and maybe they don't have as much hate towards Nvidia, but a lot of the articles do read quite positive and talking about the Pro subscription, talking about AAA titles, play them on your TV without the need of a console. And it's the message we've been shouting from the rooftops for 2+ years. But now it feels, again, change feels like it's in the wind.
I think the difference in tone is, rather than assessing the Stadia as a direct comparison for a PlayStation or Xbox or PC or Switch to a certain degree, they're looking at this as an add-on to a piece of tech that you're already buying. Yeah. And then it is adding value to your TV purchase. So I think that's where the difference is. It's just approaching it from a different direction. Yeah,
completely agree. Drilling down a bit further, they have clarified as well, NVIDIA GeForce Now will run at 1080p, whereas Stadia aims for the whole 4K 60 thing. So read into that what you will. It's probably more of just a marketing buzz, because we know Stadia's definition of 4K, it's a little suspect because a lot of it is it's rendered in 4K, but then when it's streamed out to you, it reduces and stuff. So
you're getting the full Stadia experience, but getting a slightly watered down GeForce Now experience, which will improve. But it's kind of just generally accepted that in terms of cloud gaming, tech Stadia is the best on the market. The downsides of Stadia is largely the game library and sometimes how the games have been brought over, ported over.
Agreed. From part of the same conference, though, NVIDIA did confirm and stress that cloud gaming in general is expected to grow by 100 million subscribers by 2024. So within the next 2 or so years, with the combination of like the rise of 5G networks and fiber broadband rollout and stuff,
the difficulty on price of GPUs,
chips, the rarity of chipsets and getting hold of technology, because basically nearly everything announced at CES needs these rare chips that they're becoming invaluable, more rare than gold at this point, it would seem.
Yeah.
Everyone's going through it.
For things like the TVs and stuff, they don't need the same sort of tier, and that's where cloud gaming comes in handy. It's like the hard work is done somewhere else.
Yeah, indeed. And then rounding out our TV news, Strong, company I've never heard of prior to this week, have also announced a super affordable 4K Ultra HD Android TV streaming box, which comes with Google Stadia. So as another announcement, Strong, I'm guessing, are a tech company. I think they're based in Africa, if I'm not. I think that's where I've seen their name before. I've never heard of them in the realm, spoken in equal realm of like Samsung, Google, Amazon and stuff. But they have announced a Android TV based box in the UK as well, with HDR, cloud gaming for Google, access to the Google Play Store, and all of your traditional apps, Netflix, Disney Plus, BT Sport, all of that. Powered by Android 10 operating system. It will be upgradable in the future. It comes with all its specs built in. It's essentially in the UK, Richie, I think we just have like Roku boxes over here.
Which is still that. I don't really get much of the purpose of something like Roku boxes. Almost every TV on the market now is a smart TV.
Yeah,
means these boxes don't have that much purpose.
They had like a niche market a few years ago when you could like upscale your old TV into a smart TV.
There is a market because sometimes like smart TVs, like my smart TV, the OS hasn't been updated in years.
Yeah.
So I can't get Disney Plus like natively on my TV with something like this is an add-in. So similar to how I use my Chromecast, really.
Yeah. But you do wonder who's out there buying a strong box as opposed to just a Chromecast or a Fire Stick.
Yeah,
or get a new TV. But again, we digress. It's great. Stadia coming to another platform. I don't really see this as like it's a win, but it's not like it's not as
anywhere
large
Stadia
as the Samsung.
Anywhere Stadia is a win because there'll be 6 people in the UK who actually buy this thing, and then they get exposed to Stadia. I mean, it is $59.99, which is more expensive than a Chromecast.
I mean, just get a Premier Edition if you want a Chromecast Ultra. Even though it's the older tech, it's still there, right? But again, we jest. We just never heard of them, so it's difficult to pin down exactly who and what this is aimed at. But Google Stadia in more places is always a win, so no disrespect. Final news coming out of CES this week then. Alienware, part of Dell, I believe, have revealed a new concept, still in concept, at CES 2022. It's effectively a gaming system. It's called Concept Nyx, and what in its entirety, Richie, essentially, is Google Stadia ran locally, the same concept. So if you have a game running off a local PC tower, like many of you probably do, Concept Nyx allows you to stream that game to all the other devices in your home and your Wi-Fi network, so your phones, your tablets, your laptops, without the need of running a separate instance. It just all runs from the one Concept Nyx tower, essentially. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richie, but Dell claims that the method should lower latency, increase bandwidth, and make more games more responsive overall when compared to cloud gaming. Alienware also believes the multiplayer latency could reach single-digit milliseconds by going down this route. You'll be able to access your own game library via a huge range of smart devices, including laptops, phones, and smart TVs. And they quote from their actual main article is, Concept Nyx allows you to play Cyberpunk 2027 on your bedroom PC before passing the controller down to your roommate to continue the game on the living room. So similar how on Stadia we would go from one to the other, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, one of your friends could be competing in Rocket League on their tablet while the other plays on Minecraft on their phone, all within the same household. So essentially, yeah, it's the same concept of Stadia, play on many devices, but instead of it running from the cloud, it just comes from a PC tower somewhere in your home, running on the same network. Thoughts on this concept, Richie?
It's an interesting concept, but I'm deeply suspicious of this, largely because they're claiming off one box you can play multiple games on multiple different devices. I mean, by the sounds of it, it's using your Wi-Fi connection to basically cast out the signals to them, which it's definitely doable. Mm-hmm. But to think that you'd be able to place things like multiple instances of, like, for example, Cyberpunk on a single box is just not really realistic for any sort of reasonable price that would make this a reasonable concept that you'd be interested in.
Well,
like, if the game is getting rendered locally in that box, it's going to have a decent GPU in there, mm-hmm. which is going to immediately make it expensive, mm-hmm. which then almost prices itself out of the market a bit. It then becomes more of a novelty.
Well, it's interesting in their explanation. They use Cyberpunk as an example because we know graphically Cyberpunk couldn't run on last-gen consoles, so it's up there. It needs to be like top performance. And then it says, before passing the controller down to your roommate to continue the game. So not play a separate instance of the game, just pick up. So that's the same one instance of Cyberpunk being just switched to a different room. So that's perfectly acceptable. And then it says at the same time, someone could be playing Rocket League while someone else plays Minecraft. And we joke pre-show, Minecraft and Rocket League, not on the same fidelity, graphical prowess levels of Cyberpunk 2077. Great games, undoubtedly. Minecraft is a bunch of blocks. Rocket League is a couple of cars in a fancy-looking arena.
And it's notoriously easy to run. It's kind of by design.
Should this example not say, run Cyberpunk in your bedroom, your roommate plays Cyberpunk downstairs, while someone plays Cyberpunk on a tablet and someone plays Cyberpunk on their phone? That's 4 instances of the game running, which you could do on Stadia, right? Because in theory, it's Stadia's servers just casts it to 3 different logins.
You'd have to have 4 copies of the game. But again, I think this would be bound by that sort of licensing anyway, because that comes from the publisher. The publisher's not going to let you just say, "Oh yeah, we're going to get this. We're going to pay a one-off fee for this box," and then suddenly I have 4 copies of Cyberpunk.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Does it?
It doesn't work like that. Yeah.
So again, concept. I like it. I appreciate what it's trying to do, but similar to how we felt about the Steam Deck in a way, where it almost feels like this would have been great a few years back, but with cloud doing so well. It kind of is negated by, well, if you've got good internet, just stream it to your phone and your tablet rather than have it locally then cast it out to them.
There's a potential niche for something like this to happen. If you don't have a gaming PC, you don't want a gaming PC, and you just want to put this box somewhere in your house, and then all your screens in your house you can put game on, whether it's in your living room or your bedroom or your kid's bedroom, whatever. Or you can be playing Cyberpunk while your kids are playing Fortnite or Rocket League or something. There's a niche there. I suspect that I think the hardware that would have to go into that box is pushing it into at least the medium tier, potentially higher tier of gaming PC prices. And in the current landscape, that's going to be an expensive box. Or you're going to be compromising significantly on quality in order to do it.
Yeah. I've been interested to know if you could actually ask the question to them. Could I run 4 instances of Cyberpunk on several devices? And
I can tell the answer's no.
What pressure would that have on the GPU of this tower? So interesting stuff.
I don't think a GPU currently exists that could run 4 instances of Cyberpunk to like say, let's say 1080p 60 frames per second. If there is, let me know in the comments.
Well, they did announce a new graphics card, right? Nvidia did that? Was it?
I think it's like a 3090 Ti.
Yeah. All the people who can't get hold of the 3080 for the last year have been trying to get them from scalpers. Now there's an even newer one to pre-order and get your hands on.
It's a weird thing that they're doing is actually, because I've seen a couple of tech reviewers saying that instead of focusing on bringing out bigger, more powerful graphics card, get stock of like the 3060 and 3070 in. That's more important right now.
Yeah, it's like PlayStation doing PS6 while not everyone's been able to get a PS5 yet.
But yeah, this is one of them. Is interesting concept, but seems too good to be true.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be wrong on it though.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, they did still quote it as a concept, so that's all it is.
This is one of the crazy stuff I said that sometimes turns up at CEX.
You're just like, oh wow, that's great. Yeah, in concept. Yeah. Again, to go back to it though, this then prompted websites to talk about it, but reference Stadia in a positive light, saying it runs in theory the same way as Google Stadia does. And it's interesting how now the concept of Stadia is being referred to with other tech firms and across other brands and stories. Yeah. So it's again, I'm liking it. But that is all we have for CES this year. I'm sure more stories will creep out as things unfold. But Richie, we have a special section set aside for NFTs this episode, because NFTs it's the year of NFTs apparently. So we've got
guys, we're going to be talking about this every week.
We've got a special block, or a blockchain we should say, set aside. Square Enix came out this week. And I just want to read... I'll read directly from the quote. But before I actually get into the NFT quote, Richie, I did realise Project Triangle is out, I believe, in February from Square Enix. Now, we have Project Octopath Traveler on Stadia, and it's kind of what I think we forgot about. Do you think there's a chance that we could get Project... Oh, I don't think it's called Project Triangle. I think it's just Triangle Strategy.
Yeah, it was originally released announced as Project Triangle Strategy, as Octopath Traveler was released as Project Octopath Traveler. And then this went... well, that's the name of the project. Let's just call it that.
Yeah. So, But it was just as I was reading the Square Enix news, I realised that, Triangle Strategy is out in February. I believe, and we got Octopath Traveler. So we've not really spoke about this. You're a big fan. You're a big fan of Octopath Traveler.
Yeah, I like Octopath Traveler.
Do you think this could come later?
It's possible. I actually played the demo on my Switch, and it's a bit different to Octopath because it's more of a tactical RPG rather than just a straight up RPG.
Right.
So it's more. It's got more like it's almost got like a turn-based strategy element to the game, something similar to you would see in something like Valkyria Chronicles,
right?
Rather than like just a straight up party battle system. It could be interesting. Again, something like this is always going to live or die on based on the story, but
yeah,
I think there's a good game in there.
Yeah, it's just an interesting one.
I'd like to see it come.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other than it might be exclusive, like timed exclusive to the Switch, like Octopath was.
Yeah, it could be.
But we've got to remember, Octopath was, I think, everyone thought it was exclusive to the Switch, but it was on Stadia for a long, long time, and I don't actually know if it's on PlayStation or not yet. It's like one of those weird games that kind of people think it's just a Switch game, but it's not. It's on PC and Stadia. But I digress. That was purely just a Square Enix side topic, because we need to get back to the statement from the president of Square Enix came out and wished everyone a Happy New Year. Nice guy, nice to do. And then he immediately pivoted and started talking about the metaverse. Apparently 2021 was dubbed the year of the metaverse. And they said pushing ahead.
Why are we enabling Mark Zuckerberg with this shit?
I don't know. So it's the metaverse year, and then... So then he goes on to say about like technology and the year ahead and everything like that, as they do in these kind of addresses to their shareholders and stuff, I guess. And there's a section which is just it's here. It's probably here to stay. Not that we want it, but and I'm reading directly here. Another term that gained quick currency in 2021 was NFT, a non-fungible token. The advent of NFT using blockchain technology significantly increased the liquidity of digital goods, enabling the trading of a variety of such goods at high prices and sparking conversation the world over. I see 2021 not only as a metaverse year one, but also as NFT year one. Given that it was a year in which NFTs were met with a great deal of enthusiasm by a rapidly expanding user base. However, we do observe examples here and there of overheated trading, etc., etc., etc. They basically went on to say, like, Square Enix will be getting into NFTs. Yeah. And before we talk about NFTs in such a depth, Richie, I just want to tack onto this story. Konami also celebrated Castlevania's 35th anniversary this year by releasing artwork, video clips, and music tracks all in NFT form as well. Yeah.
Look, NFT is going to happen in games. I don't like it. I actually like it. I'm more open to it in single-player games, oddly enough.
Right.
Because I think an NFT being in a single-player game isn't going to affect the experience too much. It's just... cosmetics already exist in single-player games. It's now then I can just sell that if I don't want it. In multiplayer games or persistent world stuff, you're going to get bot farming this stuff, and that is going to negatively impact the experience. What I don't like is when these companies are coming out going, "Oh, these are great for gamers." No, they're good for your bank account. Just be honest with us.
Yeah, they don't benefit me as a gamer in any way, unless I want to get into selling and trading on them. I feel like I'm just being hit with an advert for, do you like trading NFTs, 212?
Yeah, NFTs do not improve the game. End of story. There's nothing about an NFT that would improve your gameplay experience.
Nope.
The only benefit is if you're like, "Oh, I've got this new cloak for my character. I don't like the look of this cloak. I'm just going to sell it. Oh, I've made 30 pence. There you go. That's the only benefit. So there could be a benefit to players there. But I don't like when these companies are coming out and pretending that they're doing this. Like the Konami stuff. Yeah, oh, this is a celebration, NFTs. Like, fuck off. You're not doing this to celebrate. You're using that as an excuse.
If it was celebration,
you're hiding behind the Castlevania 35th anniversary to launch your NFTs.
Yeah, because realistically, like all of these like images for Castlevania could have been like, we're releasing it as a poster, a placard, a little statuette, DLC in the Castlevania collection just came out like prior to Christmas, like free content for that. It could have been anything in celebration. Except no, now it's a tradable image, which again, I can just right-click it right now and click Save Image As.
Well, you can't because it's not actually the image. That is the NFT. It's the digital code. It's the specific digital coding that's built into the image that is unique, which means that you're just going to get a lot of procedurally generated stuff that has a slightly different palette swap. Oh, right. We haven't. If we change this 7 on the hexadecimal code to an 8, it's technically unique.
Right. So
visually, you're not going to notice the difference because it's such minute. Right. And the way blockchain technology is, every transaction is like the full...
knocked on.
Everyone involved in the entire chain of all the transactions have a full register of all the transactions, and that's how it protects itself from tampering.
Yeah, so it's like your cars...
so you can't just right-click, save as an NFT, and then suddenly you own it. Because there's no record of that as a transaction.
Oh yeah, I meant just if I wanted the image for myself as a wallpaper background.
Of course, you could easily steal the image, but you can't steal the NFT.
I can't take the 0.2 pence value worth for that image. It's what a world we live in. Either way, but like you said, Richie, it doesn't add anything to the game. And I'm a gamer, I'm not a collector of digital goods and artifacts in that way.
The things that I think it will do is, for things like Ubisoft putting it into things like Tom Clancy games, what you're going to see is bot farming in them games take off, and then their shareholder numbers are going to say, oh, we've got this many new players, when actually there's no one playing it.
Yeah,
it's just bots. Yeah. And then that's going to have problems for matchmaking and things like MMOs. If, say, for example, something like that happened in Destiny, you might join a group for a raid, and then 6 people leave because they're just NFT farmers.
Yeah.
Like,
either way,
that's why NFTs as a concept is fine. Have at it. I think they could have detrimental effects into gaming
and the stock market and finances and stuff. But well, that's not for us to discuss.
And the environment because of GPU farms.
Yeah. Well,
and the market of being able to get GPU. So the reason you couldn't buy a PlayStation 5 for your kids this Christmas is because these dicks are putting NFTs in your fucking games.
Wow, they heard it here, folks. It's not Santa's fault, it's NFT's fault. To round up this then, Sega did apparently this week announce that they are also dropping plans for NFTs. So they did have it, and they've said that fans see it as a way of simple money making rather than actually dedicating your brand and stuff to that. So they've came out recently, CEO Hakuri Satomi discussed a range of topics from the company's growth strategy, and they've said that nothing is decided about NFT's blockchain or the play to earn content. In terms of NFT, we would like to try out various experiments and have already started many different studies and considerations, but nothing is decided at this point. There have been many announcements at this stage already overseas and with other companies, and we've seen a negative reaction. They then went on to address that they haven't made a final decision yet. So I think it's inevitable because at the end of the day, all these are businesses that want to make money. So if you can slap a Sonic the Hedgehog image out there and make even just a fractional amount of money, it will happen.
Yeah, I do think it's inevitable that most companies are going to be in NFTs. I think what Sega are doing now is they've seen the backlash that's happened to like Ubisoft specifically and a few others. Yeah. Now Square and Konami have just got it from me.
And Santa.
They've looked at that sort of backlash and went, let's back off. We are thinking about NFTs. We're going to think about how we have to do.
How we can disguise them better, like loot boxes. How we can disguise them better so it's not gambling.
It's not even how do we disguise them. How do we implement them in a way that isn't controversial? I think what they'll do is they'll wait it out until more companies have brought it. It's the same that happened with loot boxes and DLC in general, where eventually it was all controversial at first, and eventually just because it clearly wasn't going away, it just became accepted.
Yeah,
the early adopters like Square and Konami and Ubisoft will take the brunt of this, and in 2 years' time, Sega and Nintendo and Respawn will launch NFTs, and no one will give a shit because it's just accepted at that point.
Indeed. So, final question then, Richie. When are we doing Helix Cloud Games NFTs?
Already working on it.
Good man.
I do want to mention as well that Steam has banned blockchain games.
Right.
So games that are produced entirely for the purpose of generating NFTs have been banned on Steam. I do think when we're talking about NFTs in general, it's worth pointing that out. some companies are clearly against them.
Yeah, taking an active pursuit of stopping them. That's good to know. So hopefully NFTs won't be around for much longer, but I think it's inevitable they will be. Just like Google Stadia and cloud gaming, they'll be around forever, just like we will. Rounding up the show this week, we've got a few little stories, little quirky, funny ones. To start with, the Far Cry 6 second DLC content featuring Pagan Min from Far Cry 4, yet to drop on Stadia still. That's one of the few Ubisoft titles that was announced, and we're still just kind of waiting on it. DLC 2 Titled Control features the villainous Pagan Min, played by Troy Baker, from the Far Cry 4 set Himalayan background, in another roguelike DLC, available next week. This is one, Richie, where my interest in these DLC as a season pass holder has kind of fell off. The first one was rubbish, in my opinion. They take a Far Cry game and turn it into a roguelite where you go out into an arena area, like an open world area, collect stuff, and if you die, you lose it all, bar a couple of points, and start again. That's not Far Cry for me, so I lost interest. So I tried it once or twice. I died a few times, lost all my money, loot, armor, weapons, bullets, had to start again. I think it works on a 2D platform. I think running around to get to the same chests to open them to get loot, it got repetitive very, very quickly. And I just lost interest. So the fact that the second DLC is another roguelike, just with a different villain, I think I'll hang fire for the Stranger Things crossover and more Danny Trejo missions in the normal game, rather than this season pass.
It's interesting they're basically taking the same concept twice. I would have thought, like, if you're going to try a few things out. So, like, if the first one's a roguelike and goes, it didn't really work for this game, they know that. Because I think this is the DLC for a game like this is where they can actually experiment a bit more.
Yeah.
We can bring out this, because if the DLC is a bit rubbish, it's not going to negatively impact how people perceive the game entirely. So you do have that kind of free reign to try a few things out, especially with like Ubisoft and everything's very formulaic in how they produce their games.
Yeah. See, they've done that.
But then the second DLC do something different.
Yeah, well, they've done that in the past. Like Far Cry 5's DLC was really good. They had one focus on Vietnam, and you had a whole separate story mission within the Vietnam War. Yeah. Then you had zombies, I think it was, and then you had one that was on Mars with aliens in space. So they were, but ultimately it was still Far Cry. It was still running around, just clearing areas, defeating villains with a boss fight, and then a little bit of story tied in. Whereas because this is just, he's like the first one literally is, he's Vass, which you can't see because it's first person, so the villain you're playing as, you can't really see anywhere.
Yeah.
And then go out into the world and fight generic villains, and which is Far Cry, I understand that, but either way, yeah. Just give me Blood Dragon on Stadia, finally, please. I got that as part of my purchase, so I know what to expect with that one. But out January 11th, so not too far at the time of recording. Just a few sheer days to go. Final ones rounding up on the Stadia stories this week. We've got the Explore tab within the Stadia app. Had a little bit of an update to show not only trending within the browser and on the app, but also filters. Not super fun news, but
they're improving it. It's still the fact that you can't interact with any of the content on the Explore tab, I think, still makes it fairly pointless.
Yeah, we've said that.
But they are. But there's them improving it. It's good to see.
They're working on it.
And interestingly, we had a look at this before the start of the show, and we very much dispute the things that are trending are actually trending.
Yeah.
Because when we scroll through, it's like I think about half of the screenshots and video clips that we saw were either Cyberpunk or Valhalla. Neither of them were in the trending tab.
Yeah. So the trending tab, as of right now, has A Place for the Unwilling, Hellpoint, Darkwood, Windbound, Jotun, Shantae Half Genie, Welcome to Elk, and Young Souls, which, no disrespect, but I don't think anyone's playing any of those games. Not to a degree of sheer number base where they'll be trending. Welcome to Elk, there are not thousands of people playing Welcome to Elk right now on Stadia. Guaranteed.
Again, I just had a quick look through what had been posted recently, and most of it was things like Cyberpunk and Valhalla, so they're the games I would expect to be trending.
Yeah, you would. But it's good to know they're working on it. There's filters running away in the background that you can filter out just the blog posts or user content. Again, I think just making it a little bit more social with, as we alluded to, Richie, comments or shares or likes maybe, or like star ratings or something like that. Just to have that back and forth interactivity rather than
if you don't want to go dislike, do take the idea from Reddit and go upvote, downvote.
Yeah.
So more things that upvote, they just get pushed right to the top.
Rise.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But yeah, a way of interacting with the content people post would be good.
Certainly would. Another funny one from Stadia, just to round things out for the week. Two little ones, actually. First up, Richie, apparently if you cancel your Stadia Pro subscription, they pester you like hell. So I've noticed a couple of people post on Twitter. I think it was someone who had like a blue tick verification tweeted out saying... I'm trying to cancel. I've cancelled my Pro subscription, and they email you every single day on the countdown.
It was Artem Rusakovsky, the founder of Android Police.
Right. So that's the guy, and he said he's had a screenshot of his Gmail inbox. So literally, if you cancel your Pro subscription, he's getting daily emails saying, "Make the last of your 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 days Pro discount."
I actually read the thread a bit because there's a few people saying just unsubscribe to Stadia's emails, and his response was actually very, very important, and it was kind of the thing is though, I would like to receive promotional emails from Stadia, not just the Stadia spam. So he doesn't want to subscribe to Stadia because he wants to get the promo stuff.
Yeah.
What he doesn't want to do is just be spam. So Google, sort this shit out.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be harassing people like this.
It's
bad luck.
It comes across a bit needy, like daily reminders that you're Pro subscribed. Like he's cancelled it for a reason, obviously.
And honestly, stuff like this will make me more inclined to cancel or just not resub.
Yeah, because
you shouldn't be sending out this email more than once a month, and even then, I'd say that's quite excessive.
Yeah. I don't mind an email maybe just before saying, if it's about to cancel in the next few days, here's some great game. Like maybe when next month's Pro games drop, you might want to remind it to say like, oh, look what you might be missing out on for February. But yeah, daily emails is a bit like, leave the guy alone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then that works into a promotion email as well, which he says he actually wants. Yeah. So hey, he's the upcoming Pro games for February. He's maybe throw a cheeky discount in to get people back in.
Cheeky discount. Speaking of cheeky discounts, Richie, final story of the week. Dirt 5, supposedly, looking at the Stadia store, has a discount down to £18.14, or your local currency equivalent. And that sale is going to run until the 5th of January 2023, which is just under 1 year ago. So... we don't know if this is an error, a glitch. It was spotted by our friends over at Stadia Source. And it's just a funny one because, obviously, no game, I think, has ever been on a locked-in sale for a year. A year?
Yeah.
Yeah? Weird, right? Now, there are two bits of this that could be. One, it could just be an error, and it could be corrected in the next... well, before this even goes live, it could be corrected. The second one is people say that because Dirt 5 hasn't been kept up to patches and updates, as well as other platforms, this is the kind of counterbalance to that, to say like the devs are sorry but the game's half price. Not that that's acceptable.
I mean, it's technically more than half price. It's down
definitely.
to £18.14 from £54.99.
Yeah,
it's a significant sale,
but you're missing all of the latest versions of the game, updates and stuff. So I personally just think it's probably an error, and I think once they realise, they'll just amend the date.
Unfortunately, the way Stadia Store works is I can't actually verify it myself because I've already claimed the game on Pro.
Yeah, that's the same for them all. But
yeah,
interesting one to round out there. We will see. Maybe Dirt 5 will just be on sale until the next year. But we're here telling you the news this year, and that has been it for episode 120 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Thank you everybody who tuned in, who's watched on YouTube, who's listened out there on podcast services, up there in the cloud. Don't forget to review us if you are listening on Spotify. Don't forget to like the video if you're watching on YouTube. But more importantly, hang around on the channel, share it with your friends, click that bell so you are kept in the loop with all of our content here, just like this very podcast, just like our weekly live streams, our first look videos that go up, and more importantly, Richie, our SideQuest episode, which goes up every Friday on free feeds. But if you are a member, you get it up to 6 days early for supporting us a little bit more. 66. Why am I saying 66 pence? 99 pence.
Yeah.
It's not gone down, that we know of. From as little as 99 pence, you can get up to 6 days early. And Richie, it's going to be a good one this week. I'm looking forward to it. What are we going to go talk about?
Well, we're going to talk a bit of Star Wars, maybe a bit of Batman, a bit of Wonder Woman, some Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat maybe.
And why would that be?
Because we're talking about WB games.
Damn right we are. We're talking about the year ahead, 2022, and one of the biggest third-party publishers out there who are going to have one hell of a year, dropping so many massive titles. And how many do we have confirmed for Google Stadia? 0. So I'd like to know why Google Stadia need to commit and lock down WB Games this year, because they are one of the biggest players in the market. We're going to go talk about it. If you're listening to this podcast on a Monday and you're like, Chris, I don't want to wait till Friday to get this on free feeds, then just click join on the YouTube video below and you can have it up to 6 days early in all its glory when it drops every Sunday for our members. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in so far. Thank you for all your continued support. Go out there, enjoy some games, and play in the cloud. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Hades Cloud Games, and remember, folks, play wherever makes you the happiest. Have a great week.
Unless you're buying NFTs.
Unless you're buying NFTs, then burn in hell. Goodbye.